In the year 2347, humanity had spread its influence across the galaxy, leaving Earth a distant memory in the archives of history. Among the stars, they found new homes, new allies, and new enemies. The story of Lerna III, however, was unlike any other. It was a story of survival, courage, and the indomitable human spirit in the face of unimaginable odds. Captain Darian Voss stood on the bridge of the starship Ardent Dawn, staring at the swirling expanse of hyperspace through the viewport. He was a seasoned veteran, with a reputation for leading his crew through the most harrowing of missions. The crew of the Ardent Dawn was a family, each member handpicked by Voss for their unique skills and unwavering loyalty. "Captain, we're approaching Lerna III," said First Officer Alara Draven, her voice calm yet filled with an underlying tension. "Very well, Alara. Prepare to drop out of hyperspace," Voss replied, his eyes narrowing as he anticipated the mission ahead. Lerna III was a lush, verdant planet on the outskirts of the Helios Expanse, known for its rich biodiversity and untapped resources. It was also the last known location of the Galatea, a scientific vessel that had gone missing months ago. As the Ardent Dawn emerged from hyperspace, the vibrant greens and blues of Lerna III filled the view screen. It was a beautiful planet, a stark contrast to the cold void of space. "Scan for any signs of the Galatea," Voss ordered, his voice steady. "Scanning now, Captain," replied Lion Tyrell, the ship's navigator and tech specialist. Her fingers danced across the console, her eyes focused on the data streaming in. "Captain, I'm picking up a faint distress signal." "It's coming from the surface," Lion reported, her brow furrowing. "Coordinates?" Voss asked, his interest piqued. "Sector 7G, near the equatorial forest," Lian answered, her eyes meeting Voss's. "Prepare a landing party. We're going down there," Voss declared, a sense of determination in his voice. He turned to Alara. "You're with me, Alara. Lion, you stay here and monitor our communications. I want to know if anything changes." Alara nodded, her face set with resolve. "Aye, Captain." The landing party consisted of Captain Voss, Alara Draven, Chief Engineer Eric Rourke, and Security Officer Jenna Kessler. They descended to the surface in the Stalwart, the Ardent Dawn's shuttlecraft. As they broke through the planet's atmosphere, the dense canopy of the equatorial forest came into view. "This place is incredible," Jenna remarked, her eyes wide with wonder as she took in the lush landscape. "It's also potentially dangerous," Eric added, his voice gruff. "We don't know what's out there." "Stay alert," Voss reminded them. "Our primary objective is to find the Galatea and any survivors." The Stalwart landed in a small clearing, the hiss of its engines dissipating as the crew disembarked. The air was thick with humidity, the sounds of alien wildlife echoing through the trees. "Signals coming from this direction," Alara said, consulting her handheld scanner. She led the way, the rest of the team following closely behind. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they encountered remnants of the Galatea. Scorched metal, twisted beams, and shattered equipment lay scattered among the undergrowth. "It looks like it crashed here," Eric observed, examining a piece of wreckage. "Spread out and search for survivors," Voss instructed. "Be careful." Minutes turned into hours as the team scoured the area. Just as hope began to wane, Jenna called out, "Captain, over here!" The team hurried to her location, finding the remains of a makeshift camp. A lone figure, haggard and weary, sat by a flickering fire. "Identify yourself," Voss demanded, his hand resting on his sidearm. The figure looked up, revealing the gaunt face of a man in his late 30s. "Dr. Cedric Harlan, Chief Biologist of the Galatea," he said, his voice hoarse. "Dr. Harlan, what happened here?" Alara asked, her tone gentle yet urgent. "The Galatea was attacked," Harlan replied, his eyes haunted. We were studying the native flora when we encountered them. Them? Voss pressed. The Vor'thrak, Harlan whispered, his voice trembling. They are an ancient race, thought to be extinct. But they are very much alive, and they do not take kindly to intruders. Vor'thrak? Jenna repeated, her eyes wide with fear. I've heard stories about them. They're supposed to be some kind of myth. They are no myth, Harlan said, his voice steadier now. They are real, and they are deadly. They captured most of my team. I managed to escape, but I don't know if anyone else survived. We need to find them, Voss said, his voice firm. We can't leave anyone behind. We'll need to be careful, Alora cautioned. If these Vor'thrak are as dangerous as Dr. Harlan says, we could be walking into a trap. Voss nodded. We'll move cautiously. Dr. Harlan, do you have any idea where they might have taken your team? Harlan pointed to the north. There's a valley about 10 kilometers from here. That's where they took us. All right, Voss said. Alora, Eric, Jenna, gear up. We're heading to that valley. Dr. Harlan, stay close. The team moved with a sense of urgency, navigating through the dense forest. As they approached the valley, the atmosphere grew tense. The sounds of the forest seemed to fade, replaced by an eerie silence. There, Harlan whispered, pointing to a rocky outcrop. That's the entrance to their lair. The team approached cautiously, their weapons at the ready. The entrance was a narrow cave, barely visible among the rocks. Stay close and stay quiet, Voss instructed. We don't want to alert them to our presence. They entered the cave, the darkness swallowing them. The only light came from their helmet lamps, casting long shadows on the walls. The air was damp and cold, filled with the smell of decay. Over here, Alora whispered, pointing to a side passage. I think I hear something. They followed the passage, the sounds of muffled voices growing louder. As they rounded a corner, they saw a group of humans, shackled and guarded by towering figures. The Vor'thrak were tall and imposing, their bodies covered in dark, chitinous armor. On my mark, Voss whispered, his voice barely audible. We take them out quickly and quietly. The team moved into position, their weapons aimed at the Vor'thrak guards. Voss raised his hand, signaling the attack. In a flurry of motion, they fired their weapons, the Vor'thrak falling before they could react. Go, go, go! Voss shouted, rushing forward to free the captives. Captain Voss, is that you? One of the captives asked, disbelief in her voice. It's me, Dr. Nara Vale, Voss replied, recognizing the lead scientist of the Galatea. We're getting you out of here. As the team freed the captives, a low rumble echoed through the cave. We need to move, now, Alora urged. The team hurried back the way they came, the rumble growing louder. As they emerged from the cave, the ground shook violently. What's happening? Jenna shouted over the noise. The Vor'thrak are awakening, Harlan said, fear in his eyes. We need to get to the shuttle and warn the Ardent Dawn. The team sprinted through the forest, the sounds of pursuit growing closer. The Vor'thrak were relentless, their chitinous armor glinting in the dappled sunlight as they closed in. Keep moving, Voss shouted, his heart pounding. We're almost there. The stalwart came into view, its engines already powered up. Leon's voice crackled over the comms. Captain, we're detecting multiple hostiles converging on your position. You need to get out of there, now. We're on our way, Voss replied, ushering the survivors onto the shuttle. As the last of the team boarded, the shuttle's ramp closed, and the stalwart lifted off. The Vor'thrak emerged from the trees, their piercing shrieks echoing through the air. Punch it, Lion, Voss ordered, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen. The shuttle rocketed into the sky, the forest below shrinking rapidly. The Vor'thrak's shrieks faded, replaced by the hum of the shuttle's engines. Captain, we've got incoming, Leon warned, her fingers flying over the controls. A Vor'thrak warship appeared on the sensors, its sleek form cutting through the atmosphere with deadly grace. "Brace for evasive maneuvers," Voss shouted, gripping his seat as the shuttle swerved to avoid incoming fire. "Leon, get us to the Ardent Dawn as fast as you can," Elora urged, her knuckles white as she held on. "I'm on it," Leon replied, her eyes focused on the controls. The shuttle weaved and dodged, the warship's weapons blazing. The crew held on, their hearts pounding with fear and adrenaline. "Almost there," Leon muttered, her eyes darting between the sensors and the controls. The Ardent Dawn came into view, its massive form a beacon of hope. The shuttle's engines roared as it made a beeline for the docking bay. "Prepare for docking," Voss ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. The shuttle slammed into the docking bay, the doors closing behind it with a resounding clang. The crew stumbled out, breathing heavily. "Get us out of here, now," Voss commanded, his voice echoing through the ship. The Ardent Dawn's engines roared to life, the ship lifting off and breaking through the atmosphere. The Vor'thrak warship pursued, its weapons blazing. "Shields at maximum?" Elora shouted, her hands flying over the controls. "Return fire," Voss ordered, his eyes fixed on the viewscreen. The Ardent Dawn's weapons fired, the Vor'thrak warship taking heavy damage. The ship shuddered as it took a direct hit, alarms blaring. "Captain, the shields won't hold much longer," Leon warned, her voice tense. "Divert all power to the engines," Voss commanded. "We need to get to hyperspace." The ship's engines roared, the stars stretching into lines as they entered hyperspace. The Vor'thrak warship vanished from the viewscreen, the crew breathing a collective sigh of relief. "We made it," Jenna said, her voice filled with disbelief. "Thanks to all of you," Voss replied, his voice filled with pride. "We did it." The crew of the Ardent Dawn gathered in the ship's common area, the survivors of the Galatea among them. They were weary and battered, but alive. "Thank you," Dr. Naravel said, her voice filled with gratitude. "You saved our lives." "We couldn't have done it without you," Voss replied, his voice warm. "We're a team, and we look out for each other." "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Fleet Command," Lion reported, her eyes lighting up with excitement. "Patch it through," Voss ordered, his voice steady. The holographic image of Admiral Tessa Reeve appeared, her stern face softened by a smile. "Captain Voss, I understand you've had quite the adventure." "Yes, Admiral," Voss replied, his voice respectful. "We encountered the Vor'thrak on Lerna III. They are very much alive and extremely dangerous. We'll need to report this to the Council," Admiral Reeve said, her expression serious. "But for now, you and your crew deserve some rest." "Well done, Captain. Fleet Command is proud of you." "Thank you, Admiral," Voss replied, his chest swelling with pride. As the transmission ended, the crew exchanged smiles and relieved laughter. They had faced unimaginable odds and emerged victorious. They were more than a crew. They were a family. "All right, everyone," Voss said, his voice filled with warmth. "Let's get some rest. We've earned it." As the crew dispersed, Voss stood by the viewport, staring at the stars. They had won a hard-fought battle, but the war against the Vor'thrak was far from over. He knew they would face more challenges ahead, but with his crew by his side, he was ready for anything. In the vast expanse of space, the Ardent Dawn continued its journey, a beacon of hope and resilience. The story of Lerna III was one of many in the chronicles of humanity's expansion across the galaxy, but it was a story that would be remembered, a testament to the courage and indomitable spirit of those who dared to venture into the unknown. Years later, the tale of the Ardent Dawn and the rescue on Lerna III became legend. It was a story told in academies, inspiring new generations of explorers and adventurers. The crew, now scattered across the stars, remained in close contact, their bond unbroken by time or distance. Captain Darian Voss retired with honors, his name etched in the annals of history. He spent his days on a peaceful colony world, sharing his stories with eager listeners. Elara Draven became a celebrated commander, leading her own ship with the same courage and determination she had shown on the Ardent Dawn. Lion Tyrell continued her work as a tech specialist, her innovations pushing the boundaries of human technology. Dr. Cedric Harlan and Dr. Nara Vale continued their research, their discoveries on Lerna III, opening new frontiers in science and medicine. The Vor'thrak, once thought to be mythical, were now a known threat, their existence a reminder of the dangers lurking in the unexplored reaches of space. But the legacy of the Ardent Dawn and its crew was more than just their heroic deeds. It was a legacy of hope, courage, and the unbreakable bond of friendship. It was a legacy that would endure, shining brightly among the stars for generations to come.